Hello friends, welcome to 3ABN Today. It is Thursday night, all the way live. If you're joining us, thank you for taking the time to join us. Dr. Diehl, good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
We are partners in crime. Healthy crime.
Healthy crime.
Yeah.
Yes, good to have you here.
You said we are arresting disease.
We are arresting disease.
That's good.
I like that.
How have you been?
Good, thank you.
And your family.
It has been lonely. 3 years.
I know.
Is that long?
No visit here.
That's
I used
right.
to be here every year, right?
That is right.
To be with you.
You're right.
But COVID has kind of
That's why.
Really tempered our visiting rights.
That's right. That's right.
And you're the only one with food tonight. I mean, I don't know how you
food on
rank.
this
You've got
table.
so much in front of you that you can talk about tonight. It looks really, really good.
Good.
Well, good to have you here.
Thank you.
Just before we go to your guest, tell us, there's some people that, for whatever reason, I don't know, somebody might not know who Dr. Hans Diehl is. Give us an overview.
I'm just a servant. I'm just trying to reach out to people with the idea that you can do more for yourself by activating your immune system and your recovery system in your body than all the doctors in a way combined when it comes to chronic diseases. You know, when we talk about chronic diseases, these are diseases that are not curable medically because they stay with us, they're chronic. So when you have diabetes until you pass away. When you have heart disease, you have heart disease until you pass away.
Wow.
You know, these are the kind of chronic diseases that we, however, can change if we can activate the body's recovery system and arrest this disease and reverse the disease.
That's right. So when we said we're partners in crime, we're in good, clean crime, getting rid of disease, preventing it. Preventive is better than trying to diagnose it and try to get rid of it.
It's always better to prevent than to repair. But fortunately, we can now begin to do something about arresting the disease, these chronic diseases, and actually reversing them, healing them, providing curative aspects through a concept called lifestyle medicine.
Okay, well, good to have you.
Let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy
it's
food,
part of it.
right?
Okay.
We're talking about an intensive therapeutic lifestyle change that gives the body a chance to begin to heal itself. And so we're talking about heart disease, we're talking about diabetes, we're talking about overweight, we're talking about kidney disease. These diseases can be affected by helping people to become motivated to make intelligent self-care choices.
Wow, wow. Well, I don't want to keep your guest waiting too long. Susan Benigas, am I correct?
That is right. It's a pleasure to be here.
And it's been a number of years, but I'm glad to have you back.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Let me tell you, she's a top executive. She is a woman with a big heart.
Yes.
Okay.
And she has a sparkling personality.
Okay.
And she made the big quantum loop for our fledgling lifestyle medicine concepts some 8-9 years ago and turned it into a national recognizable organization.
You've got a wonderful reference. But tell us a little bit more about you.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, as Hans said, I've been the executive director of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine for 8.5 years now.
Okay.
And ACLM is the nation's medical professional association for physicians and allied health professionals who are truly passionate, as Hans said, about treating root causes of disease. So rather than simply diagnosing symptoms and treating those symptoms with ever-increasing quantities of pills and procedures, which, as Hans said, does not cure the disease, lifestyle medicine is about the use of evidence-based therapeutic lifestyle intervention to treat and reverse already existing disease. And if the therapeutic dose is efficacious for treatment and reversal, then prevention's the natural byproduct. So it's considered by many to be the fastest growing medical professional association in the United States today.
Wow.
And emerging all over the world, with now medical professional associations representing the field on every continent around the world.
Wow, I'm looking forward to learning more about that. Every time Dr. Diehl comes, he brings someone with him
He does.
who is, and I want to use that word again, efficacious in their field. And very well informed. Thank you for being here tonight, and I'm looking forward to it. I know in preparation for the program, I saw the graphics we're going to talk about in the second hour, and I always learn something.
Always.
And last time you were here, you really challenged me to get rid of my barbecue potato chips. You said eat an apple. I wanted an apple pie. You said eat an apple instead.
Use potato,
And
real
you said eat a real
potatoes.
potato, not the potato chips. And so I'm working on it.
Are you working? Oh, good.
Working on it.
Yeah.
My wife reminds me every now and then.
Yeah, you know, this whole thing is not about perfection anyway.
Okay.
It's about improvement, right?
Okay.
Getting on the track. And you are on the track.
Good. And I like potatoes, especially when my wife makes it.
You know, we're talking really about intelligent self-care that comes to us through education,
Yes.
intensive education. Like the CHIP program.
Yes.
Chip, yeah.
Yeah, we used
Okay,
to
I
have
remember that.
35 hours of education. Once people understand this, it's much easier to begin to make some of the changes and turn them into habits, because it's habits that determine our health, habits that determine our disease. So habits is really the key, behavior change.
I have a nephew. He's only 37 years old, and he has diabetes and high blood pressure. I am going to take one of these books when I go to Florida for my nephew. So diabetes at 37 years old, that's young, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
It can be reversed, though.
Yeah, what kind would that be considered? What kind of diabetes would that be
Well,
considered?
this
at
is
37?
usually adult onset diabetes
Okay.
or type 2 diabetes. That's the most common diabetes that we have, representing about 90% of all the diabetes. We can turn this off within weeks if we just help people to understand that they have the power by making some dietary changes, getting into an exercise program,
right.
oftentimes losing some weight, and that makes all the difference.
Wow, wow.
And if I may add that long before there was COVID-19, we had been talking about the looming global pandemic of type 2 diabetes. And it's true that you can no longer even refer to type 2 diabetes as adult onset, because so many children are now being diagnosed with this degenerative condition. And it really is, it is something that there's such urgency for us to address it. But the good news is that it is a dietary related degenerative condition. And so not only is it preventable, but often treatable, and if caught early enough, reversible through the power of food as medicine and lifestyle medicine.
Wow, that's
Yeah, just imagine diabetes has tripled in the last 30 years. I mean, it's becoming a pandemic in its own now.
That's right.
Right? Every baby born out of three, 1 out of 3, will become a diabetic in a lifetime.
1 out of
If the
Got it.
trends continue.
if the trends
Yeah,
continue.
yeah.
What?
So the interruption of the trend is what this program is about.
Correct. And then, of course, you have to worry about cancer. Breast cancer rates, the incidence rates have gone up dramatically in the last 50, 60 years. We have seen heart disease not really declining very much either. And then you have to worry about excess weight. Today only 1 out of 4 adults in America are actually regular, normal weight.
Wow.
1 out of 4 people are regular weight. That means 3 out of 4 Americans are either overweight or obese. Something has happened. And it all started in the 1970s when our diet began to change, like you mentioned. People shifted from potatoes to
Potato
chips. We shifted from water to soda pops.
Yes.
See, these were the changes that took place where we no longer eat food, but we now eat industrialized products. And they're made for taste, for convenience, and they're made for profit.
That's why many years ago there was a commercial, I won't mention the chip, but the commercial hook was, I bet you can't eat just one.
One.
Because it was made for taste.
Very
That was a
true.
child. I bet you can't eat just one. And these are things that are orchestrated and doctored up in a factory so that you can't eat just one.
Yeah. You see, these were the foods that we used to really rely on until the 1970s. And everything began to change gradually in that we developed engineered foods, taste sensations, difficult to resist, almost addictive. See? And so that's why I think we see today a great increase in these chronic diseases, and that's why we feel we need to do something about it.
Wow, wow. Well, let's first of all lay some foundation here. I think that all of us, we all travel, we begin to look at the world as it's metamorphosizing. You made a very powerful point how things are becoming more and more prevalent among younger and younger children.
Yes.
When we grew up, we were outside.
Playing, jumping
Yes.
rope,
We were riding
hopscotch.
bikes.
That's right.
You know, we breathed outside. Today, neighborhoods are primarily quiet because children are held hostage by machines.
Video games.
Yes.
And they're becoming obese. They're couch potatoes before they have a double digit in their age.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of this. Why is our nation and our world being, I love the word, facing a chronic pandemic of unhealthy lifestyles?
Well, I think you'd be probably talking about some of these major factors, right?
Yes.
What are the
absolutely.
6 factors that you always seem to emphasize in such an elegant, educational way in the
Yes.
American College of Lifestyle
Well,
Medicine?
we really focus on the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine. And lifestyle medicine is conventional medicine. It's all evidence-based. And it's really about shifting to a first treatment approach that attempts to identify and eradicate the root cause of disease before then shifting to pharmaceuticals. And those 6 pillars are a whole food, plant predominant, dietary lifestyle, regular physical activity.
So something like this?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Anything that grows from the ground and as close to nature's package as possible, because those are the foods that are fiber-filled and nutrient-dense, antioxidant-rich. You know, those are the foods that will protect health and fight disease. And it's only the foods that grow from the ground that are fiber-filled. And so that's why we always speak to the fact that while all 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine are very, very important and foundational to health, food does trump all. But to your point, physical activity, so important. And we have really evolved into such a sedentary population. And then stress management and restorative sleep, the avoidance of risky substances, and then the power of positive social connection in our lives and purpose. And so those are really the 6 pillars that are foundational to optimal health or lack thereof. But as this beautiful plate of food represents, it really, we are overfed, undernourished, again, fiber deficient, nutrient starved, and we've been reaping the consequence of that. But the good news is that even though nearly 90% of all dollars spent on healthcare in the United States, and certainly in many parts of the world, are paying for the treatment of conditions rooted in poor lifestyle choices. And that's good news because it means we can do something about it before it's too late. And that's why this is such a wake-up call, and I think why we're seeing such tremendous growth in the American College of Lifestyle Medicine and in the field, and interest from the public as well.
So when you're talking about treating the conditions or the symptoms, right, you're really talking about patching up the symptoms that people have, make people feel better without necessarily attacking the causes, right?
Well, when you even look at type 2 diabetes, which, you know, the point that you made, Hans, now the trends show that every child born in 2000 or thereafter, you know, 1 in 3 will become diabetic. Only 6% of our U.S. population is considered metabolically healthy at this point.
6%?
6% is metabolically healthy in the U.S. And very true in many parts of the world. And so when we look at healthcare spending in the U.S., for example, we spend 2.3 times more on healthcare for someone with type 2 diabetes. And yet those ever-increasing quantities of medications don't cure the disease, yet lifestyle medicine intervention can not only halt the progression, but oftentimes can reverse the disease. So that's why it's so incredibly important that we shift our whole healthcare system, really shift our current disease and disability care system into one focused truly on healthcare.
Yeah, let me sort of reinforce that too here. You know, the average person in America spends $13,500 a year for medical care, on average. I mean, as a matter of fact, many families can no longer sustain this. As a matter of fact, companies, the #1 cause of bankruptcy in America today is medical cost of the employees and the medical costs of the owners.
So I want to add one more thing that you talked about here. So when you were speaking, you talked about how sometimes 90% of costs go to an area of medicine that could be prevented.
Absolutely, not only prevented, but oftentimes treated and potentially even reversed. We see that, and I mean, the evidence is overwhelming in support of this. And so that gives us hope. You know, as we as a nation teeter on the brink of healthcare cost-induced bankruptcy, again, that's a good news statistic. And that 80%, nearly 80% of all chronic disease is tied to our lifestyle choices, what we eat, how we move, how we think, and then nearly 90% of those dollars being spent on healthcare. And it isn't just the United States. I mean, when we look at the Middle East, for example, just incredibly high levels of chronic disease and obesity. And so it isn't just, this is a global problem because we have exported the standard American diet and the food manufacturers have capitalized on this. And as Michael Pollan said, you walk into any grocery store and 80% of what's there is an edible food-like substance and not really food as God designed. So we must shift.
Yeah, we are consuming today industrial products rather than foods as grown. And you know, I think the company that is giving or paying apparently your paycheck or you're working for, they're doing the right thing, making the employment subject to you becoming more aware of the things that you need to do in terms of your personal lifestyle. That is, I think, the future, and corporations in America are beginning to realize this. And this is not just an exceptional case. That's basically what you find every day, isn't it? Corporations are interested.
Oh, absolutely. Because when we look at in the United States, who's paying for health care? And for whom is there immense profit in optimal health? That's what's really, really important. And it's self-funded employers. So many employers, if they have at least 1,000 employees or more, will be self-funded. And they're responsible for covering those costs. And really, when we step back, and you know, as a Christian, even though the American College of Lifestyle Medicine is a secular medical professional association, I'm a person of faith, and I often say that our fiercest enemy could not have designed a more insidious, destructive force. Because when you look at our healthcare system, there's just immense profit in disease. There isn't profit in optimal health.
You're right.
And so the system is very much designed to, you know, diagnose the ill, prescribe the pill, and send the patient home with the bill. As I quote my friend, Dr. Hans Diehl.
Again. I love that.
I'm quoting Hans Diehl here, to diagnose the ill, prescribe the pill, and send the patient home with the bill.
And all in 7 minutes, and the other 7 minutes you have to use as a physician to enter everything on your computer.
That's right.
So, I mean,
that's
what
right.
can you do in 15 minutes?
Yeah.
So the
You're
lifestyle medicine concept is trying to provide people with 20, 30, 40 hours of education and delivering it ideally in groups because you have then social support. It's much more fun doing things together when you change as a group, right, than alone. And so this brings me then to the issue that you just raised, Susan. You mentioned the medical economics.
Yes.
I mean, why isn't the society, why isn't the culture promoting more fully these concepts of lifestyle medicine?
Right.
Why is there such a hindrance towards these concepts? You know, we, for instance, have published some 50 scientific papers on the efficacy of the lifestyle medicine approach to these kind of chronic diseases. Why don't we embrace it more fully?
I can tell you why.
Well, tell me.
Because it doesn't match my bottom line profits.
Money.
See, if I could give you a bill, diagnose the ill, give you the pill, and then give you the bill, and I could make sure that, okay, if I could see 37 patients today, my profits this month will be better than my profits last month. I don't have to educate you. I could keep you as I could keep as a chronic patient because you have to keep coming back to me. I haven't really resolved your issue.
What you really do, you create a dependency then, isn't
Right. You become, oh, I hate to say this, but I'm going to
Yeah.
use this. You become my drug dealer rather than the person who's concerned about my well-being.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I don't want to sound, I don't want to, label the whole medical field that way.
Right.
But as I said in the very beginning of the program, you need to go on vacation rather than sending your physician on vacation.
You came on pretty harshly there on the medical profession, right?
Okay, go ahead.
I understand. And I understand the fairness and perhaps some of the justification that often is appropriate, right?
Validated,
But
yeah.
you know, it's more than that. I mean,
Okay.
think about this. If we would really adopt a dietary program, for instance, that looks at foods as grown, right?
Okay.
You would not have the meat industry to be your friend.
True.
They would not support lifestyle medicine when you can actually get people off these medications. You would not have the egg industry with the cholesterol-rich egg yolks to be really pushing your program, would you?
Wow.
You would not have the soda pop industry really pushing your lifestyle medicine concepts and really recommend drink more water, right?
Amen.
I mean,
Okay.
you see, you have all these hindrances, and then you have these ultra-processed foods. These are manufactured foods, they're engineered foods, they're taste sensations. You almost feel like you are getting addicted to them.
Yeah.
That's
Like
right.
you said, there are sometimes situations where you cannot just eat one potato chip, right?
No, really, honestly, you really can't. When you just, there's something about the way that they engineer it, and that's the proper term.
And I remember in my neighborhood, back in the 70s, in Brooklyn, they opened a McDonald's.
Yeah.
And everybody was so excited. McDonald's. And I was so excited with them. And that was one of the worst things that happened to our neighborhood, is when they opened McDonald's.
Matter of fact, we're going to take a little stroll back in
Okay.
the past briefly. I remember being in Paris when they were recommending a McDonald's and the people were protesting. Because they said that lunchtime, they take 2 hours for lunch. They actually go home and cook their food. In one of the instances, I remember this is years ago, this is in the 80s, to qualify this.
Went with Heritage Singers.
We were in
years
Heritage
ago.
Singers, and they said it's not unusual for a cab driver to pull over when it's lunch hour hits. And it's lunch hour for everybody takes their lunch hour at the same time. And one of the passengers says, "What are you doing?" He says, "It's my lunch hour. You're going to have to wait till my lunch hour before I take you the rest of the way."
Siesta time.
Siesta time. They cook their foods. They literally cook their foods. But now we know, as you talked about, we have exported disease in the context of fast foods. So what makes lifestyle medicine different?
Well, first, it certainly reignites the passion for why most went into the field of medicine, to become true healers. And so that, again, is why we're seeing such tremendous growth in the field and of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine and of the lifestyle medicine associations around the world. Because it enables that medical professional to treat the root cause, to attempt to identify and eradicate the root cause with the clinical outcome goal of health restoration as opposed to simply disease management. And because it is evidence-based, conventional medicine, all that, we're just advocating that it become the first treatment option, that lifestyle medicine become the foundation of health and all health care. And I think that we're just seeing physicians and medical professionals who, as you referred to earlier, needing to see, 25, 30, 40 patients a day, and it's just unsustainable. And so they are looking for a different way. And I think that the public is rising up saying, wait a minute, we don't want to just manage disease. We really want to have our health restored. We want to add years to life and life to years.
Right.
And the medical community is. And we're seeing such incredible things happen. I mean, even on the national stage, just yesterday, the American College of Lifestyle Medicine submitted its recommendations and a pretty significant offer in response to the White House conference on hunger, nutrition, and health. And for the first time in over 50 years, one is being produced on Capitol Hill this September. And so food as medicine is something that is in the vernacular and being talked about. Just a few weeks ago, Congressman Jim McGovern and Congressman Burgess out of Texas co-sponsored a House resolution that was unanimously adopted by the House of Representatives that advocates for nutrition to be incorporated into medical education throughout the country. Wow. Now, it isn't anything that, it doesn't have like any teeth to it. It's a resolution, but it enables organizations like ours to come behind and do things that really help to manifest that vision. And our president was just in Washington, D.C. today, meeting with Congressman McGovern and others on Capitol Hill.
President of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
You know, we have to also recognize that when you are facing something brand new, there's always resistance.
True.
Now, we are trying to reach physicians, right? But unless they have come through the program and begin to understand that this is scientific, it is evidence-based, it creates oftentimes a change in the disease process within days, like with diabetes and high blood pressure and so on, then I think you can hopefully whittle down some of the natural resistance that we all have towards change, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's a common trait that we all share.
Right.
So I don't want to sort of make it sound as if it's all the profiteering that is the basis here for it. But in general, change is always difficult. It's a paradigm shift, and you know, I mean, think of the pharmaceutical industry. I mean, what are they going to do now if we are really able to turn these diseases around?
Well, there will always be people who want to eat what they want to eat, sit on their sofas, and not be physically active. So there will always be plenty of disease to be treated. But it's almost like informed consent. Patients, people, we all have a right to know that there's a lifestyle medicine treatment option for us.
That's right.
And that it doesn't need to just be a disease management approach. And that's really what we're advocating.
I want to lead to another phase now in our discussion, and that is that with all the efforts that you have made, something is happening that is going to break it wide open within the next few years. As a matter of fact, pretty soon, I think.
Okay.
And so I want to talk to you about a hero that appeared and is probably breaking this field wide open.
Did you say hero?
A hero.
Okay.
That's right. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready for the hero.
Well, let me tell you about this hero. Let me give you a little bit of a background.
Okay.
I won't tell you who it is.
All right.
Okay. Born in Arkansas, fourth of 5 children, family poverty-stricken, mother barely bringing food to the table, father a butcher that struggled with alcoholism. So, you know, it's those kind of situations, very, very difficult situation. And then in education, he was a consistent D student.
D.
Yeah, you know. And then when he went to the college, he somehow was finally diagnosed with having dyslexia, where you don't really read very, very well, and you have to make some brain adjustments. And once he found out that he had dyslexia, he turned from a D student into a Dean's List student.
Wow.
Top-notch student. He then began his career in law enforcement, police officer, very successful, 22 years record, ended up as captain, and became ultimately the president of...
United States.
No, not yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
He's dragging us in there slowly.
Okay.
But he started with the in New York first. He started with the Brooklyn area.
Okay.
So he became the president of this borough there. Did very, very well.
Okay.
Made a lot of friends. Okay. Developed a political base, and ran for president, no, ran for mayor of New York City.
Amen.
Okay.
I know now.
And January 1, this year,
yes,
Okay.
yes.
he became the new president, no, the mayor of New York City.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Amazing, isn't it?
I'm not going to say his name because I'm a New Yorker. I mean, I'm in New York City. I'm going to leave that. We're just
What a
laying some
story.
foundation for you.
But you see, what happened is he was diagnosed with severe end-stage diabetes.
Wow.
And once he began to understand that this was a fatal disease, once he realized that he would probably face a threatening situation of having an amputation of one of his toes, once he recognized that he was in line of going blind on one eye, once he realized that kidney disease was looming, because this is what happens with diabetes, he then began to look around. He was a searcher. He looked for answers, and he found a man by the name of Caldwell Esselstyn, a prominent physician who was here years
We did
ago.
that program. That's
he
right.
was.
Right?
That's right.
he was.
He
Yeah.
was here also with a firefighter.
Cleveland Clinic.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Cleveland Clinic.
I remember.
And he listened to this man, and he learned that diabetes is actually reversible.
That's right.
And you can do it fairly rapidly, oftentimes within weeks. And so he followed this program, and he traded his junk food for foods as grown. He began to get into an exercise program,
Yes.
got himself a treadmill into his office, was working out there every day, and his diabetes began to reverse itself. And within 3-4 months, he was off medication, no more insulin, and he was a new man. And he got so fired up and said, I need to bring this to New York.
Okay.
These are my constituents. I have to help the people here.
Amen.
I have a responsibility. I know the answer. I figured it out in my own life. We need to reach this. And what he did then, what did he do with the children?
Oh, well, he started a plant-based 1 day a week in school lunches for New York City school children, and he's really advocating that it become infused into all the health systems in New York.
Matter of fact, when this happened, my sister, who lives in New York, and used to work for the fire department and police department, called me and told me about it. She said, New York is being turned upside down. And she talked about this. We're going to talk about this. You're going to give more, you're going to put some meat on this, no pun intended, the second hour of the program. I'm looking forward to
Some
that.
peas in the pod.
Some peas in the pod.
That's right.
There you go.
You know, he said there are close to 1 million children in the public school system. Should we feed them disease or should we turn them around? He said there are now 40% of the children, grades 1 to 8, that are overweight or obese. Should we feed these children to become larger, or should we turn the disease around? And so he began to lay the foundation for this concept of bringing a healthy, plant-based option to the schools.
Absolutely.
Now-
He's very visionary, and I believe that what he's able to do in New York will reverberate and
Yes, it
really
will.
serve as a prototype for other cities to follow.
The Hebrew.
The other thing that we have to keep in mind is now, when you were unfolding this story, I was thinking about some other prominent politicians. Bill Clinton, this was something we talked about.
with the
I
heart
think,
attack or
when he had his heart attack. He realized, wait a minute, this is not the way that I
His
can continue,
lifestyle.
and he changed his lifestyle.
Went vegan.
Totally.
Totally, yeah. Another one I found out about, Al Sharpton, another gentleman who I met him many years ago. Well, when I say met, we were on the same elevator in the airport. That's not hardly a meeting. That's like, he's on the elevator, I'm here. And I gave him a CD, but at the time he was a very large man. But have you seen him lately?
Yes.
Same thing. He's a small man. He's practically vegan. Changed his lifestyle. Can I confess about something? This is really terrible. But I noticed one day that I was extremely, extremely thirsty.
Yes.
And my wife drinks water like it's going out of style. So I kept thinking, why am I so thirsty? Why am I so thirsty? And you know what I traced it to? Confession good for the soul, heart and a reputation. But it's a U-turn. It's a U-turn. And I want to tell you, I've trained myself to not, when we just came back from shopping today,
Oh,
I didn't buy any potato chips.
No. I was so proud of you.
I didn't buy any potato chips because I traced it to my inordinate,
Yeah.
continually going to that bag of potato chip and the
Yes.
salt. It was
Yes.
drying out moisture in my body. And I just kept saying, why am I so thirsty?
Yeah.
And you know what the turning point was? When my lips started chapping.
Yeah.
I said,
All
why-
that
why am I-
salt.
Why am I? And I went like that, and I tasted the salt. I said, "That's it.
That's it. You were
That's
done.
it. I'm done. I'm not doing this any longer." And I started turning around, and I felt so much better. And I also noticed.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
I noticed that I began to shed a few pounds.
Yeah, you
Because I
did.
think that there was some connection. Maybe you could talk about this. There's some connection to too much salt and then inordinate water in your diet. Can you talk about that?
Oh, yes. Or you can hold 10, 15, 20, 25 pounds sometimes of water because of a high salt diet.
Wow.
And you see, salt is not really well appreciated by the body. It is not,
Easily assimilated.
well, it's not putting the body into the best optimal state of health. And so what happens is the body wants to dilute this concentration of salt that you consume, and it holds on to water to dilute it. And that's how you can then possibly sometimes have 10, 20, 30 pounds of extra weight just in
get
water
water
because of the
pills.
salt. So you made the very good connection there.
Yeah, and I noticed that I had more suits to wear. So I'm being reformed slowly. And today we came back from the store, didn't buy any artificial drinks.
No, you
My wife
didn't.
said, we are going to drink more water.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's so
And we
important.
need it.
We need more
I
water.
drink my water. I put lemon in mine. It's always
That's
so
good.
fresh lemon.
That's
It's
great.
always
You see, you're
Thank
just
goodness
like
stones.
that man that I tried to describe to you, right?
Yeah.
He got
Oh, yeah.
infused with an enthusiasm.
Yes.
He felt, I need to take this message to my constituency.
Right.
I need to reach people in New York. They need to have this healthful information. They need to be introduced to healthy foods. And he has become now one of the most outspoken
Okay.
supporters of the lifestyle medicine movement. Is that
Yes,
right?
He really has. And I had the opportunity to speak at an event with him probably
did?
5 or 6 years ago, and he spoke right before me, which is not the place you want to be, following someone like that is such a charismatic presenter, as we'll get to see here in a few minutes. But as the crowd roared and I took the stage and I said, what do you think of this gentleman for president? And the crowd applauded, and little did we know, a foreshadowing that he would become mayor of one of the largest cities of the world.
You know, I think you've laid such a wonderful segue and foundation. We have a couple of back-to-back videos we're going to show right now
let's see.
as to what you've been priming about, what you introduced. And after these two videos, we're going to have a few comments before we close our first hour out. And I think this is going to do a couple of things: introduce you to the person that we've been alluding to, and secondly, in a sense, summarize what we've covered the first hour. And then we're going to go into the educational part of it the second hour. So just sit back and watch these two videos back to back.
This is the most comprehensive expansion of lifestyle medicine in the nation. In the nation. New York is going to change the conversation about using food not to feed healthcare crises, but to stop the crises, and in some cases, like my case, to reverse some of the chronic diseases that historically we said was not possible. Living with chronic diseases. And we need to be clear on something. A chronic disease does not only impact the individual who has the chronic disease, it impacts the entire family. And everyone in this room knows someone who's going through a chronic disease if they are not going through the chronic disease themselves. That is what we must understand. A chronic disease hijacks your life, and it hijacks the life of your entire family. And that is why this is a significant moment on what we are doing. And those who are going through the chronic diseases. And what type of diseases we're talking about? We're talking about heart disease, hypertension, diabetes, prediabetes, and all the other health concerns that's associated with obesity. We have a healthcare crisis that's not sustainable. And to be bold enough as a city and a hospital system to say we are going to do something differently is really commendable. And I just think of the entire team. This expansion is about helping patients make healthier lifestyle changes. including plant-based diet, physical activity, improved sleeping habits, and stress reduction. All the things that we must incorporate into our lives so that we can deal with the stress of being in a stressful environment. I'm living a healthier lifestyle, and I'm encouraging New Yorkers to have as many plant-based meals as possible because the science is clear. The more you eat plants, the more you eat fruits, the more you have a healthy lifestyle away from over-processed food, the healthier you are going to be. I know how I feel every day, and I want you to feel the same way every day. And so those who have questions on what I am eating, I'm over 18, and I know how to take care of myself. And if you haven't noticed, look at the pictures of yesteryears, and then look at the pictures now. I wear my suits so much better than I did 8 years ago. And if you like it or not, you have to say, yes, you do. If I would have followed the path that I was given, I would not be standing here. I was going blind. They said there's nothing they could do for you, Eric. You're going to be blind in a year. That tingling that I ignored, they said you have permanent nerve damage. You're going to lose some fingers and toes. I was going to have to take insulin every day. I was taking medication. They gave me medication for my high blood pressure, medication for my cholesterol problem, several medications for my diabetes. I had an ulcer. They gave me medication for my ulcer. They said, Eric, this is permanent. Add those dollars. This is not sustainable. And so when you look at the fact I did not have to buy that metformin, the insulin, the high blood pressure, the statin. I don't have to get all of those things. So it's not how much it costs for this program, how much it's going to cost us if we don't have this program. And those are just the dollar amounts. The traumatization of my family members. I remember my son when he heard what happened. He says, Dad, you have a BMW. You put the best gas in your car. You didn't put the best food in your body. It's costly not to do this. And so we're going to come up with whatever the numbers are, but we're going to meet those darn numbers because our healthcare system is not sustainable. It's just not sustainable. And I'm not going to allow this to continue in my 4 years in office. I eat a plant-based centered life. Some people want to call me vegan. Vegans eat Oreos and they drink Coca-Cola. I don't. I eat a plant-based centered life. And I'm not going down this rabbit hole of what do you eat? If you eat cake and it has eggs in it, that you analyze it. I'm not doing that. The more plant-based you eat, the better and healthier you are. That is my question to those who are following me around in restaurants, wondering what I'm ordering. Listen, I'm not doing that. That's noise to me. I got to get New Yorkers to eat a plant-based centered life. And if that's not an answer that people accept, then it's cool with me.
Wow, wow, wow. Then it's cool with me. That was Mayor Eric Adams of the proud city of New York. Wow. You know,
Beautiful.
when this initiative was voiced, that's conviction. That's a person who's concerned about a city. You're talking about 16 to 18 million people in greater New York area. And he's right. The medical costs are not sustainable.
That's
proud of my city.
That's right, absolutely. And the person who was standing over Mayor Adams' right shoulder is Dr. Michelle McMacken.
Really?
And she's a former member of our board of directors. Okay. And she had, when Eric was Brooklyn Borough president, he started infusing lifestyle medicine into Bellevue Hospital System, the oldest hospital system in the state of New York. And Michelle took on the role of head of nutrition and lifestyle medicine and started doing shared medical appointments that were lifestyle medicine based and seeing seeing tremendous, tremendous results and really educating, equipping, and empowering people to take far greater control of their health destiny. And then after Mayor Adams became the mayor of New York City, then Michelle was named Director of Nutrition and Lifestyle Medicine at Health and Hospitals. It's the largest public health system in the United States.
Wow.
And so she was there that day at that press conference and ended up speaking after the mayor did on that particular day. And so now Mayor Adams is in talks with 6 health systems in New York. And because of Michelle's relationship and the relationship that we have with he and the mayor's office and the educational curricula that ACLM has developed, the continuing medical education accredited medical education, we're going to be working very closely with Dr. McMacken, with Health and Hospitals, and in helping to fill that gaping void of lifestyle medicine and medical education, because that's what needs to happen. And so we're just delighted to see the kind of leadership that Mayor Adams is exemplifying, and really believe that it will be an inspiration to other mayors across the United States and around the world.
Yeah, I love that. He said, if you don't believe what I'm doing, at least you could agree that I am wearing my suits better.
Hey, absolutely.
And it's a terrible thing, but I noticed the difference, and I said, you know, I'm able to increase the number of suits that I can now wear. And it's really, really exciting to know that when you make a change, your body begins to applaud on the inside.
It does.
Your heart begins to say, I've been waiting for this moment. And your oxygen levels go up. You begin to sleep better. You don't feel as dried out as the hills of Gilboa. And the water actually makes a difference. You're not adding to something that is becoming worse. You're beginning to contribute to something that's better. And honey, thank you for continuing to tell me you need to drink more water. I used to think of water as, it's 5 o'clock, I didn't have a glass of water yet. She said, how much? She'd come on lunchtime. What would you ask me when you walk in the door?
How much water you drink today? Did you drink any water?
Well, I had some tea this morning.
Question. No, I mean, the vast majority of the people around the world are chronically dehydrated. And so many diseases actually are diagnosed because it's people who are chronically dehydrated.
Wow.
And many of the beverages that we do drink are dehydrating. Even though it's liquid going in, it's dehydrating. So the power of just plain H2O cannot be underestimated.
Well, we're looking forward to it. You got 20 seconds. I'll hold that thought for the second half.
All right.
You take a drink of that water. Don't go anywhere. I just want to focus on this wonderful, and by the way, all this living fruit in front of him, these are not plastic, right?
No.
These are edible.
No, I went shopping last night.
Yeah, and I think our crew is going to just descend on these bananas and red peppers. And is that a mango over there?
Yes.
Okay, I'm focusing on what I want to get after the program. And we have an artichoke over there and some green peppers and a pear and apple. Well, Susan Benigas.
Oh, yeah.
Hello. So nice to be with you.
Just for the benefit of somebody that may just be joining us. Dr. Hans Diehl has been here many times before, and I'm always glad when you come here. But Susan, just give us an overview just for somebody that might have said, man, I missed the first hour, and what are we going to learn about? But just let us know a little bit about yourself.
Yes, well, I serve as the executive director of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, which is the nation's medical professional association for physicians and other allied health professionals, and healthcare executives as well, but all who are truly passionate about treating root causes of disease. So as we said previously, rather than just simply diagnosing symptoms and treating those symptoms with ever-increasing quantities of pills and procedures, this is about first attempting to identify and eradicate the root cause of disease. And then medications may be part of that, but we know that often these conditions are preventable, treatable, and often reversible. And so I've had the privilege of holding the reins at the American College of Lifestyle Medicine for 8.5 years, and have known Dr. Diehl since that time, my dear friend and colleague. And it's been quite the journey. So when I joined ACLM, there were about 380 members and 1 on staff. And today we have a staff of 40 and over 8,000 members. And so the growth trajectory has been phenomenal, and it's just such a privilege. I often say that the American College of Lifestyle Medicine in the field of lifestyle medicine is a magnet for purpose, passion-driven people. It's really all of us that understand what's at stake and the urgency of lifestyle medicine becoming the foundation of health and all healthcare. We really need it to be in order to have sustainable health, sustainable healthcare, and a sustainable world.
And just before we ended the first hour, we saw someone that I'm going to just, my hero. Okay, I need to say, we have a hero.
We have a hero.
And is Mayor Eric Adams in New York City, the mayor of New York City. He's about to turn New York City inside out for healthy reasons.
Yes. Yes.
And I really appreciated his approach. And we're going to talk about your meeting him, and I'm not going to preempt any of that. But it's so exciting to hear that he's just not addressing crime and violence, but he's addressing something that is worse than crime and violence. That's the pandemic of the chronic diseases that are preventable. He talked about he almost went blind, was about to lose fingers and toes, and then his son, I cannot forget this, his son said, "Daddy, you have a BMW, you put the best fuel in your vehicle. Why don't you put the best food in your body?"
Absolutely.
Wow. Let's talk about.
He has such a powerful personal testimonial, and so it comes from a place of such, genuine authenticity, because he was part of that looming pandemic of type 2 diabetes, and he made that decision that even though his doctors, his own personal physicians who had not been trained in lifestyle medicine, told him that he was destined to really just endure this degenerative condition and to be a victim, really, and reliant on ever-increasing quantities of medication. And he just said, "I don't want that. I believe there's another way." And he started proactively seeking out other experts, and that's what led him, as Hans shared, to Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, who both Hans and Dr. Esselstyn are two of our founding members, even back in 2004, when these very visionary physicians and medical professionals came together and saw that there was no other field of medicine that represented evidence-based therapeutic lifestyle intervention to treat and reverse already existing disease. And then again, if the dose is efficacious for treatment reversal, prevention's the natural byproduct. But even in 2004, and far more so now, I mean, now we have in the United States alone, over 60% of all American adults, and too many children now, have already been diagnosed with at least one chronic disease, and over 40% two or more chronic conditions. So to just focus on prevention, while it's important, it's too late to just focus on prevention. And so Eric Adams, now having such a high-profile bully pulpit as the mayor of New York, he's really using his own powerful personal testimonial to really convey to New Yorkers and to the rest of the world that you don't have to be a victim of your genes. And that's what most of us have sadly, believed the lie that we're a victim of our genes, our mom had it, our dad had it, and so we're destined to as well. And so Eric is living, breathing proof that that is not the case. I mean, even his mother, who saw the transformation in his health, followed suit. And did so in her health as well. And so it's really been inspiring to see what he's doing, and for the American College of Lifestyle Medicine to be really assisting and part of this exciting, disruptive, seismic shift that's happening in the city of New York.
I like that, disruptive. There needs to be something good to disrupt sometimes in society, because so many negative things disrupt us. Pandemics and crime and all the other things that we hear statistically, just sometimes we become numb to it. But it's so good to hear that something positive can disrupt a trend that has been overlooked to a large degree. And you also have had a chance, I want to show this photo of you and also Mayor Eric Adams of New York City, and just talk about that meeting, what that was like.
That was actually, this was taken, I've had the opportunity to engage with the mayor on many occasions. Back when he was Brooklyn Borough President was when I first met him, and he was Brooklyn Borough President at this particular time. And he and I had spoken together at a conference, and so it was, you know, rave reviews for Eric Adams, and I had the opportunity to come up on stage and follow him, which is a hard act to follow. But he's a friend, a colleague, and someone that I admire a lot. And that picture was also with Marco Borges, who works with Beyonce and Jay-Z, who also have adopted a whole food, plant predominant dietary lifestyle. Wow. And he's an author and fitness expert, and so it's exciting to see, even in the time that I have been affiliated with the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, and in my work even prior to that, to see the winds of change that are blowing. You know, we're really seeing change happen before our very eyes.
That's right.
And some of what we just alluded to in the last segment, that patients, even the general population, is just rising up and saying, we want a different way. We really want true health care. We want physicians and medical professionals who are equipped and empowered to truly treat our disease and restore health.
That's right.
And then we see medical professionals who go into the field of medicine with the best of intentions. They truly want to heal. And yet our medical education system, by and large, has been focused almost entirely on allopathic to, again, diagnose and treat, not truly to restore health. But that's changing, and I think in the United States, where you see this real shift to value-based care, and we say all the time
talk about that briefly, value-based
yeah,
care.
value-based care. It is it's a shift. We're in right now. Our system is fee-for-service.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it's fee-for-service. So the more patients you see, the more procedures you prescribe. It's just it is fee-for-service, and that is not in the best interest of patients or providers. So the shift to value is about truly rewarding physicians. Physicians and medical professionals take more of the risk, but it's about keeping people healthy. And so it is a reimbursement system that rewards really good health and reining in disease and far superior outcomes. And but what's necessary for that to manifest is for our medical professionals to be effectively trained in evidence-based lifestyle medicine. And that's the foremost reason for ACLM's existence, to fill that gaping void of lifestyle medicine and medical education.
And how much progress are you making? Is there now a board-certified specialty in lifestyle medicine? What does it entail?
Yes, there is. In 2016, a sister organization of ours emerged, the American Board of Lifestyle Medicine, which hosts the annual certification exam. And so the first group was certified in 2007. Since that time, there have been nearly, well over 2,500 certified in the field in the United States alone, and over 4,000 around the world. Wow. Because it's a certification exam that's hosted in the United States by the American Board of Lifestyle Medicine, and then internationally by the International Board of Lifestyle Medicine. But it's the same certification exam being hosted globally. And then the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, we have developed a robust offering of medical education across the entire continuum with heavy CME, CE accredited content, much of which becomes the preparatory material to sit for that board exam.
Continuing medical education.
Right.
Because what I've understood, and we have a good friend,
Dr. Christine Salter in St. Louis. She's a naturopathic doctor.
and she said that when she went to medical school, nutrition was a very minute part of her education. She literally disconnected from that, what you call it, fee for service, service for fee. She disconnected from that.
Did.
And she spends half an hour
with a
Yes.
patient.
30 minutes, 40 minutes with her patients.
Yeah.
And people are noticing. She says,
She's showing them how to eat well, the natural foods, the vegetables, to heal them.
So
And the herbs.
important, right? To really educate people
Yeah,
to
she's
understand that
educating.
they can take far greater control of their
Yes.
health destiny. And to your point, it is so remarkable that even the Institute of Health Metrics and Evaluation, which is the largest repository of health-related data in the world, it's out of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation funds it, and they looked at all the data from nearly 200 countries and saw that it's what people are and are not eating to be the leading cause of disease and death in the world. And in their 2019 Global Burden of Disease report, this was documented. So to think that it's what people are and are not eating that's the
very
leading cause of disease and death, and yet in our medical education system, there's little to no training, virtually none, on
what to eat.
clinical nutrition. And so that is changing. And that's why even, the McGovern-Burgess House resolution, the White House Conference on Hunger, Nutrition, and Health, there are things that are emerging. And I think the growth that even the American College of Lifestyle Medicine is seeing is that there's awakening that something must change.
Well, and also, I mean, you mentioned earlier that lifestyle medicine as a certified specialty is the fastest growing medical specialty in America today.
Yes, many will say that, and there's reason to believe. I mean, the growth has just been phenomenal, and the number of people who are seeking certification in the field is nothing short of miraculous. So the winds of change are blowing.
And since we're
paradigm
talking about the winds of change, right? Let me just sort of insert here. We haven't really said anything about the effect that our dietary habits have on the planet itself.
Oh, that's
Whether
right.
it is the ecological disaster that we are seeing now, whether it's possibly also related to climate change. There's a brand new film coming out just now called Eating Our Way to Extinction. It's a major film coming out of England. Has been in the making for 8-9 years, and it talks about the ecological impact that our reliance on super refined, ultra processed food has on the planet.
Yes, Hans, it's so true because, the number one cause of virtually all of our chronic disease and the number one cause of some of our most pressing global sustainability issues is one and the same. It's our Western industrialized diet. And yet the foods that we need to be eating to protect our health and prevent disease are the exact same choices that we need to make in order to preserve our natural resources, to rein in greenhouse gas emissions, and to feed what soon will be 9 billion people on the face of the earth. And it's just our planet cannot sustain a heavy animal protein-based diet. There just is not enough land, water, or energy.
True.
And yet, it's like on the same amount of land, it's exponentially more people can be fed. And so it's true. It just further reinforces that the choice that's best for human health is also what's best for the planet.
You're going to go to, you'll become involved with the White House Conference on hunger. for instance, right?
Hunger, nutrition,
Yeah.
and health.
And, I was just reading in this book that accompanies this film, Eating Our Way to Extinction, where they talk about the idea that if you take 100 calories that a cow consumes to live, to exist, when you eat that flesh of that cow, you only get 3 portions back. So instead of you are feeding this cow 100 calories, you only get 3 calories back in the food that you eat in terms of the flesh of the animal. So if you're talking about a world hunger, it seems to be a very powerful relationship there, right?
Oh, so much so. And even when we look at water, we've talked a lot about water tonight, but it
Yeah.
is one of it's probably our most precious natural resource,
is.
right?
That is right.
And when we look at the same amount of water that it takes to produce 10 pounds of beef
Yeah.
can supply a household of 4 for an entire year.
Wow.
That's
Say
the
that
amount-
again.
The same amount of water that it takes to produce 10 pounds of beef can supply a household of 4 with water for an entire year. That is how intensive it is in its consumption of natural resources. And when we look at deforestation,
Yeah.
the deforestation that's going on, it's like the deforestation is equivalent to like the state size of South Carolina every year in the Amazon is just being deforested in order to create enough grazing ground to grow crops to feed the animals to then feed the people. So it really, I think that is just the elegant power of all this, how it's so inextricably connected, and that the choices that are best for our health are best for the planet. And so it really is a win-win for everyone.
Yes, it is.
So we have 6 PDFs that are available also for download, and they cover the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine. And I think that we'll be showing those for your viewers.
Okay.
And when
Let's
we
bring up
talk
the first
about
one.
the 6 domains of lifestyle medicine, again, this is about a whole food, plant predominant dietary lifestyle and regular physical activity, and restorative sleep and stress management, the avoidance of risky substances, and the power of positive social connection and purpose in our lives. And so we have one PDF that represents each of those that also will be available to your viewers to be able to download.
Okay, well, let's start with one of them. I think let's just go to the first one and just unwrap that so that our viewers and listeners can understand what they're going to be downloading.
Yes.
I think the first one is
Food trumps all. It is about a whole food, plant predominant dietary lifestyle. And I thought it was interesting that Mayor Adams in the press conference that we just showed in the last segment, he said, it's not about vegan.
Yeah,
he said I could eat Oreos and drink Coke and be a vegan, and that wouldn't be very health promoting. And this is true, and that's why evidence shows that it's a whole food, plant predominant dietary lifestyle that is the most health protecting and disease fighting. And put very simply, it's like, well, wow, what's a plant-based diet, many would ask? Well, it's really consuming the foods that grow from the ground and as close to nature's package as possible. And so that is our fruits and our vegetables, our whole grains. And when we talk about whole grains, if it cooks in 30 seconds, it is not a whole grain, right? That has had a lot of nutrients stripped from it. And so again, fruits and vegetables and whole grains and beans and lentils and nuts and seeds. It's anything that grows from the ground. Those are the only foods that are fiber-filled. And they are fiber-filled and nutrient-dense and antioxidant-rich. And that's why we say that while all the pillars of lifestyle medicine are important, food does trump all.
I like to sort of reinforce the idea of beans. You just mentioned them briefly, beans and lentils. I like to say beans 3 times a day if possible.
3?
Beans, 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 beans. The lentils, lentils, lentils. Good, excellent protein if you're worried about protein. It's not really a big issue, really. But if you are concerned about protein intake, the best plant protein you find abundantly in beans. There are some 50 kinds of different beans here in America. Enjoy beans. And then people come to me and say, well, sir, have you not heard about the antisocial aspect of beans?
Antisocial?
Antisocial?
Beans,
Right.
beans, musical fruit. Yes. Right.
Okay, I get it.
And I think the beans have been unnecessarily and unfairly maligned.
Yeah.
Because it has a high fiber content, which we need,
Right.
really. But it comes in too suddenly if you load up on beans too
Well,
fast.
yes.
And so you have turbulence there for about 2-3
Turbulence,
weeks.
that's
Okay.
a good
Turbulence.
way to put
But
it.
after about 2-3 weeks,
Yeah.
the turbulence goes away and everything is just fine.
That is
It
so
passes.
true. It's so true because very, very few, when we look at the standard American diet, it's 63% packaged processed foods, 25% animal protein and dairy, 12% fruits and vegetables, of which 6% are French fries.
Ooh.
And we wonder why we have a disease epidemic
Correct.
in this country. And Hans, to your point, it's so for most people, their guts have really been hijacked because of all of the just edible food-like substances that are coming in. And so when one begins to eat fiber-filled foods, whether they're fresh fruits and vegetables or frozen or canned, doesn't really matter, but it's just the important, but that fiber comes in and it's disruptive. And so oftentimes people will think, oh, well, no, that gave me a stomach ache. My body doesn't like these things. But the reality is, it's just that you're exposing your body to these fiber-filled, nutrient-dense foods that your body isn't used to eating. So you have to be prepared to get through the turbulent times, you know, those few days of just letting your body adjust to the goodness coming in. And once you make that adjustment, but yeah, so the first PDF is about foods because it's the most important pillar of the lifestyle medicine equation.
Before you go and enumerate those more in detail, I think it would be important for the audience to know that in America, the average person only gets about 10 to 12 grams of fiber in the diet. But many authorities would recommend more like 35 or 40, or in some of the countries you have 50, 60 grams of fiber. It's a total, we are deficient in fiber, and when these fiber foods come into the system too fast, well, you have a 2 to 3 week adjustments, and you have to open all the windows and everything else. But it will pass.
Well, and it just there. If you remember anything from tonight's broadcast, it's the importance of eating a fiber-filled diet.
Right.
I mean, we just cannot emphasize that enough because the fiber deficiency is a culprit for so much of our disease. And so even children that are struggling with everything from constipation to acne to, you know, you name it, the list goes on and on. And to a large extent, it's being almost devoid of fiber-filled foods. And it's just, we cannot overemphasize the importance of this. I mean, we spend $2 billion a year in this country alone on laxatives. And it is because of the deficiency of fiber that we're consuming.
Let's go to the second PDF very, very quickly and describe.
Yes, physical activity. And as we talked about before, and as your insurance company is making sure you're walking those steps. And we do have a sedentary population in this world, in this country, and in many parts of the world, and it's tragic. I mean, we're seeing the epidemic of chronic disease in our children now, which is just you know, such a tragic situation, and as well as adults. And we need to be more physically active. And it doesn't mean that we need to be out running marathons necessarily. I mean, when we look at there's something called blue zones population. The blue zones around the world that have the longest longevity and the lowest incidence of chronic disease. And Dan Buettner, who's a fellow with National Geographic, who really, he was the one who has identified these blue zones, he'll say, my apologies to the exercise physiologists out there, but this is not about some really complex physical fitness routine. This is about walking and gardening and staying physically active throughout the lifespan. And we must. And sometimes I think that I find that people, they feel defeated. They feel that they've been so physically inactive for so long that they just, it's almost a fear of starting. And yet, it's just get up, take that first step, and then the next day take a few more steps, and the next day take a few more steps. And it's things that we can do, whether we hit the floor and do push-ups or sit-ups or walking, the physical activity is so important. And while it cannot, we still, I mean, physical activity cannot make up for a poor diet. But it's so important to have those two things as a companion.
This is another section of confession because my wife does that all the time. Not only does she tell me to drink water, but what else do you tell me I need to do?
You need to walk with me. Can't get
That's
you to walk.
great.
You can hold
advice.
hands. Hey, it's okay.
We like holding hands.
Walk with me,
Yeah,
honey.
let me let our audience know. I mean, we're talking about some practicalities here.
Absolutely.
And these are not things, and by the way, how much do you have to pay to walk? How much does it cost?
Nothing.
Maybe a good pair of shoes, walking shoes.
Right.
That's about it. But the reason I'm saying that is because what you're introducing right now, and there are 4 more graphics you're going to talk about very quickly. We have a lot of questions that have come in also. But these are cost effective.
Yeah.
Cost you
Absolutely.
maybe a half an hour. Maybe that's what it'll
Well,
cost
yes. And I think that, there are many myths that we need to dispel.
True.
One was, the protein myth and the calcium myth and the myth that eating healthfully needs to be expensive, and the myth that exercising needs to be complex and expensive. This is so true. It can be simple
Yes.
solutions. We say beans, greens, and grains. These do not have to be expensive at all, and yet they're so nutrient dense and fiber filled. And getting out and walking, or even walking in place in front of your television program.
Okay.
You can do that as well.
I have a program for you.
Okay.
It's a simple program. It's an easy program. It's a 10-step program. Don't worry about 10,000 steps. Just 10 steps. Is that okay?
That sounds good.
10 steps. So what you do, you make a pact with yourself that at a certain time of the day, you're going to take your 10-step program.
Okay.
10 steps.
Now you got it.
So you get your running shoes on, your walking shoes, you get your nice outfit on, you get your cap on,
Okay.
you walk outdoors, and you make 10 steps. You walk to the door, and then you open the door, and you take 10 steps.
I get it.
And by the time you finish your 10 steps, you're on your way to the 10,000 steps.
Okay, all right. All that preparation.
Progressively.
You can do it.
I can do it.
Every
me.
journey begins
Yeah.
with a single step, or 10 steps. Yes.
And my wife does that. She said, walk with me down Angel Lane. We live in the country. We could breathe in so much natural,
Down the driveway.
filtered air. We
Yes,
have thousands
beautiful.
of trees around us.
Everywhere.
And she says, just walk with me.
Yeah.
Honey, I'm making a pact. You could all write this
Okay.
in. I'm making a pact. I'm going to walk with you because I want
let's
to be
see.
with you a
We'll
lot
see.
longer.
I love walking. Absolutely love walking. It'd be nice if you walk. But during my break, I take a walk too.
She does. Sometimes I call and said, where are you? She said, I'm walking. I said,
At
"You
work.
mean it's not that warm outside? That's okay. I'm walking anyway.
Have to walk.
It's hot. I'm walking.
Yes.
Okay, I'm taking my 15-minute break. And why is that? Why do I hear wind? I'm walking.
It's important.
And what are you doing? I'm working on a
He's always on
document.
on the computer trying to
Yes.
get it.
Oh, I
So
know.
I'm part of those. See, I'm one of you guys that are. I'm learning something that I need to do. And you're right. I'm getting older, but I need to get in more fitness.
Just because you're thin, you think, a lot of people think, oh, I'm thin. I don't have to do the exercise. It's,
Okay.
exercise.
And when you do it together, you actually then begin to talk about another
Yes.
special pillar later on.
Yes.
On social support.
Yes, social connection.
Loving
Power of
care.
social
Oh, we
connection.
talk.
Holding hands.
We love to do that.
Keeping hands warm. Keeping the hearts warm. Hey.
That's true. We talk. We are natural talkers.
All
You know,
the
we don't
time.
walk and just like.
No.
We talk. We talk. And so it's It is.
But you do walk with me sometimes.
Oh, I do walk
we
with her
cross
sometimes.
the bridge and back.
And when I come back, she says to me, "Now come on out.
Wasn't
Did you
that-
enjoy that?"
Yeah, wasn't that nice?
I feel so much better.
You do.
Yes.
I have more oxygen. I feel my body is saying, "Thank you."
It is.
That's right.
So I'm really excited about these pills. Now we have some questions. You want to go to the third graphic before some
Well, we
questions?
could just, if you want to just sort of like
Sure.
flip through, we could.
Let's flip through that.
So certainly, again, a whole food plant predominant dietary lifestyle, regular physical activity, and then this is stress management, which is so very, very important, and many, many different techniques that we can use to manage our stress, whether it's deep breathing or prayer or even talking, and
That's right.
very, very important. And then the next one is restorative sleep. And this cannot be underestimated, just the importance of our sleep. Not only the quantity, but the quality of our sleep and things that we can do before sleep each night to prepare to ensure that we get the best sleep possible.
Okay,
And,
next one.
and then it is
Tell us a bit more about sleep. How many hours?
Oh, well, 7 to 8 hours is,
Yep.
is the recommended amount. And it's certainly, our handheld devices, as we were talking about earlier,
Put 'em
of all ages, children, adults alike, are
Exactly.
so completely tied to their handheld devices and their
That is so
iPads
true.
and the television. And we really need to cut that off at least a half an hour before bedtime, and then use that time to
watch the
read,
television,
to
right?
pray, to just
Watch your television for half an
no,
hour.
read.
really to
read,
just
converse.
In a dark room,
just
right?
read. And yes, and
Nice
the lights dimming and a cool room, and so there's many
Yes.
We do that.
techniques that can be used.
You're making
but
us
it's
feel
just really
good.
important.
Yeah.
We do that.
Because we sleep in the cool room, sometimes we open the window.
dark.
And then the next will be avoidance of risky substances. And the focus really used to be on tobacco use and alcohol,
Oh, yeah.
but it really is far broader than that. It is the avoidance of risky substances, which are so detrimental to our health. Goes without saying, and it is a problem. And then lastly, as we were just talking about, the power of social connection. And COVID has been
yeah.
so detrimental to this because it's caused such isolation of all ages, certainly our elderly, but also our young people as well. And it just cannot be underestimated. I mean, we are designed to be relationship creatures.
Yeah, that's
And we're designed for relationship, and that is an important part of our health. And whether it's in our marriage relationships or with our friends, our other family members, our coworkers,
Right.
to really focus on that and the importance of that and how that really gives us purpose too.
Yeah. During COVID, a lot of people went into depression,
Yes.
young and old.
Yes.
Very
we
sad.
did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, we have a couple of questions. Let's start with can I lose weight and keep it off? Biana from Virginia. What can I do to lose weight and to keep it off?
Oh, I see.
This is
Okay.
Bina from Virginia.
You want to lose weight
Yes.
and keep it off? Then eat more.
More?
Eat
More
more.
Shocking. I remember this.
I
You
remember.
tricked me on this one last time, but just now explain it.
Yeah.
Eat more.
That's right.
You see, cut back on the refined foods because, as Susan mentioned, they are calorically very dense. They're packed with calories. But they're very low in nutritional value. So when you cut back on those foods, you can eat more of these foods. And as you eat more of these foods, you will have less room on your plate for all the other foods that are not in your best interest. So eat more food because these are low-calorie foods.
Yes, they are.
There are lots of fiber, so they fill you up.
Yes.
And when your stomach begins to fill up, it sends a special message to your brain, to the appestat, that regulates the appetite. And it says, hello, I'm full. Shut down. The appetite goes down and you feel full. And because you have all this fiber in your system, it stays there for a while and you're just very happy for the next 3, 4, 5 hours.
Oh, so it sustains the fullness rather than feeling hungry much quicker because you just ate junk.
Yeah.
What about beans? That make you feel full too, doesn't it?
Well, all of these foods are high in fiber. They give you a sense of fullness.
True.
And they send you a message, enough is enough.
Okay.
Okay?
And the caloric density is such an important point. I wish we had the infographic to show, but if anyone Googles caloric density
Yeah.
and caloric density in forks over knives in
Oh,
particular,
I remember
there's
that.
a great visual that shows stomachs and what 500 calories of each 500 calories of oil. There's this much of the stomach that's filled. As opposed to 500 calories of plant-based foods, the entire stomach is full. So when we talk about satiation, and this is so true, Hans, what you just shared. So it's to focus on eating those foods that grow from the ground and as close to nature's package as possible.
Can a plant-based diet help someone with an autoimmune disease like lupus? Yvette in Jamaica.
Okay.
I wonder.
That is a very complex question.
Yeah.
Lupus is sort of a term that is being used for all kinds of diseases that are coming together Do you have any ideas?
Well, Dr. Brooke Goldner is a leading physician in the field of lifestyle medicine, and she was diagnosed with lupus, and speaks very, broadly about the fact that she was able to halt the progression and reverse the symptoms of that simply with what we have discussed here this evening. And so I would really encourage this person to Google Dr. Brooke Goldner and see. But in general, yes, we've talked this evening about lifestyle-related chronic disease, those chronic diseases that by and large are so driven, whether it's heart disease or hypertension, type 2 diabetes, by our lifestyle choices day in and day out. And then where autoimmune is concerned, yes, I mean, there is some correlation, not as directly, but evidence shows, especially when it comes to rheumatoid arthritis.
Yeah.
And Dr. Monica Agarwal out of the state of Florida, she has an amazing book where she was able to reverse her rheumatoid arthritis.
Really?
She's a cardiologist, and we just see incredible case studies of that, as well as multiple sclerosis. So yes, it's the power of our, again, what we eat, how we move, can affect not only impact our chronic disease, but also select autoimmune conditions as well. Yeah.
Okay, now this is a thyroid question, because I had that same thing, low thyroid. Okay, it says, who could I contact to say I want good health care from medical doctors? I had Hashimoto, hypothyroid disease, and the medical doctors only wanted to treat each symptom. I went through 7 doctors and 1 endocrinologist. I went to see a pharmacist at a local compounding pharmacy who helped me get off all thyroid medications. Lori.
Wow.
Well, I think there are several registers, right? Registries
Well, yeah.
for physicians that are lifestyle oriented.
Yeah.
You have Dr. Barnard's.
But lifestylemedicine.org, the American College of
Oh,
Lifestyle Medicine.
okay.
So anyone that goes to lifestylemedicine.org
Okay.
and under the membership tab, and you can find a directory of lifestyle medicine physicians and medical professionals. And so that is the place to look, because it's changing. The winds of change are blowing, as we're saying.
Yes.
But it's the lifestyle medicine physicians who are truly on the forefront. They're really the visionary leaders of the transformation that we're currently in the midst of, and they have become trained in the field. And so patients need to seek them out. And outside of the United States, lifestylemedicineglobal.org. That is the website of the Lifestyle Medicine Global Alliance, and there are nearly 24 lifestyle medicine medical professional associations on every continent around the world. And so Lifestyle Medicine Global is where viewers can go to see if there's a lifestyle medicine medical professional association in their country, and then hopefully can search through those directories to find medical professionals.
Yeah, I just went to that website.
Yeah,
It's
he did.
very, very informative.
Well put together.
I am ACLM.
ACL.
American
Oh,
College
yes,
of
at
Lifestyle
lifestylemedicine.org.
Yes. Now, the graphics that you showed tonight, where can our viewers and audience go to download?
Well, I think I'm not sure if they're available on our website. They certainly can be available through yours.
Okay.
We do have patient-facing materials. Many of our materials are available only to our members that they then make available to their patients.
Okay, great.
But certainly they will be available through
3ABN.
3ABN?
Contact 3ABN to find out about the digital downloads, because I'm definitely going to do that too. I was thinking to myself, I saw those digital downloads and the information was very, very valuable. How could I start implementing that? And I'm very functional that way. Dr. Diehl?
There's a question that just came to us, and this comes up quite often. You have a person that becomes very enthusiastic about lifestyle medicine, a younger person, and then they talk about their grandfather. My grandfather is 81 years of age, and he has this and this and this and this. How can I motivate him?
Yeah.
And you know, my counsel has always been, you know, what this grandfather needs more than anything else right now is your loving understanding and your loving support, not to change his lifestyle at this point, but to let this person know that he is very special to you.
Yes.
Begin to remember the good times that you have had. That's what this grandpa needs to know. Not, you got to change your diet.
No.
No
Just
more
start
Pringles,
walking.
no more this. No. This is the time of togetherness.
Yeah.
And if that person wants to make some lifestyle changes, of course, you're happy to give some suggestions. But let us not be too forceful and in the process fracture our relationship, especially when you have this age differential there. Is there anything that you might want to add to this?
Well, I would add that it's never too late to start. And we see all the time people in their 80s who may not have ever been exposed to this kind of information, and they may get a copy of U-Turn, or they may get a copy of Mayor Eric Adams' book, Healthy at Last, which is a powerful book. They may watch the documentary, Forks Over Knives. So there are more and more documentaries that are coming out, incredible books. And so I think that that's a powerful message. I love what you said, because you cannot fracture those relationships, but planting those seeds of change can also be incredibly powerful. And it's just never too late for people to start eating healthfully and moving and working on the other pillars of lifestyle medicine.
Very, very good. Now, we have about
few
less than
minutes.
4 minutes left in the program.
Closing thoughts.
Let's recap. And I want to start with Dr. Diehl about the chronic situations that are facing not only Americans, but people around the world. What are some of the things that we could begin to do now?
Yeah, I remember being in Saudi Arabia, and I see a long queue of black-clad ladies, long line. And wouldn't you know, they're all standing in front of McDonald's. Whenever you have an American diet, which is highly refined, which is usually low in nutrition and high in calories, you always have to be concerned that you are introducing what we used to call Western diseases or American diseases. And so I think it's important for us to recognize that we need to begin to change that trend. We need to follow our hero, what he has done in New York City, buoyed up but this personal successful experience, getting out of diabetes, avoiding amputations, avoiding blindness and so on. We need to begin to do our part in leading an example in our own personal lifestyle, because nothing is more important and nothing speaks more powerful than what you do and that you model for people.
That's right.
It's not words and telling people what to do, because after a while you have no friends left.
That's true. And Susan Benigas, so good to have you here tonight.
Yes,
just
thank you.
Give our audience some parting words that just actually can get their motors going. And you've shared so much, but what would you like to summarize your evening as?
Well, that to really just reinforce that we, by just the simple, elegant solutions that God has given us, right? The power of what we eat, whole food, plant-based foods being optimal for our health, how we move, how we sleep, how we manage our stress, avoiding risky substances, the power of positive social connection. It's these things that enable us to take far greater control of our health destinies. And that's just something that should be very encouraging and inspiring, and that we can just start tomorrow and make tomorrow, you know, the first day of the rest of our lives. And it really is an inspiring message. Lifestyle medicine, it's the message of health, hope, and healing that this nation and the entire world need today more than ever before.
Wow, you just said something that I'm very known for. What's today, honey?
The first day of the rest of my life.
That's right.
You always tell
I've often
people
said that. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Diehl.
Yes.
Thank you, Susan Benigas, for being here.